Okay, so good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this third and final webinar for the current series for i2i 2015. We do apologize once again for being late. My name is Kieran Swift. Some of you, I'm seeing from some who've signed in, people, some names that I know, either i2i champions themselves, I'm even seeing a CCI board member. But for those who don't know me, my name is Kieran Swift, and I'm from the Council for Competitiveness and Innovation. We actually were expecting, and we still are expecting, to be joined by one of our 2012, 2013, and 2014 actually awardees or champions, Leandro Mohammed, as well as a representative from the local intellectual property office. But in the meantime, I'm here to hopefully address any burning questions any of you may have about idea protection and the i2i program, and how you can go about making sure that your ideas are well protected and well taken care of as you go through the process. So feel free to shoot me any questions, and as I said, as soon as those guys do arrive, we'll be happy to bring them in here and to lend their perspectives. So, I suppose while waiting for any specific questions, one of the things I can talk about is the fact that we have actually an entire section on the i2i website. If you go to i2itt.com slash, I think it's idea protection, just off the top of my head, I'm not getting it. Definitely go to the i2i website, and then you go to the challenge section of the menu, hover over it and scroll down. There's a section, idea protection and intellectual property. And it's not extensive, but it gives a basic primer of the key information you'll need to know, both about what we do on the back end to protect your ideas as they come in your submission, but also some guidance as far as things you may not have known about protecting your intellectual property. And definitely we've put on there a plug for the IP office itself, because they are the designated authorities for that area, intellectual property protection in Trinidad and Tobago. So intellectual property, I know it's a term, it's something that some people get concerned about, just it's a kind of a big gorilla of a term, but it's basically about patents, copyrights, design marks, trademarks, and so on, all different ways and mechanisms for you to exert some sort of ownership over the ideas that you come up with, and so that you can then earn revenue from that ownership. So that's a very, very basic, I would say, and layman's interpretation of it. Yeah, so okay, so we have a first question coming in from Mira, and she asks, so she's still, okay, so I'm still in the brainstorming process of putting together an idea and consulting stakeholders to get their input and advice. In the case that I utilize and implement suggestions given into my proposal, is there any formal way to credit the people who provided inputs? Oh, that's a good question, Mira. I suppose the immediate thing to consider would be, one way that you could approach that situation is that if those people are providing input, if you intend for them to work with you on the project, you can in fact apply as a project team rather than as an individual. And that way, all the other members of the project team would be listed in the application, and they would also be credited as being the persons who put the idea forward. So that is one way in which you can credit them. I mean, certainly within the body of your application, you can identify and you should actually, not just could, but you should identify the different sources and different people who provided you input. So it depends on how extensive that input is and what role you see them playing in taking the idea really forward beyond just the application, but really forward to implementation if you were to be selected. So, very good question. Thank you. Okay, so I was in the interim, I was able to pull up the i2i website in the background here, and the URL is actually i2itt.com/idea-protection-intellectual-property. That is a bit of a mouthful, so I think a much easier way to get to it is just to go to i2itt.com, browse to the section in the menu called the challenge, and then scroll down to idea protection and intellectual property. I suppose, okay, so I'm seeing another question. Please explain the proof of concept aspect of the application from Fareed Mohammed. Okay, so Fareed, thank you for that question. The proof of concept is basically the point in your project at which you will have some sort of a demonstration, tangible demonstration that the idea is feasible, it's workable in the real world. So if you consider that from the perspective of a physical product, a physical idea, good, a new phone or a new gadget of some sort, then one way of understanding the proof of concept is it would be the prototype, the first real prototype that shows that this thing is functionally workable in the real world. It doesn't have to be feature complete. Okay, so that's a key point. You're talking really about the minimum version of it that is workable in the real world. However, if you're talking about a service, if the idea is to provide some sort of a service, well, in that case, your proof of concept could be understood as that first demonstration that the service actually works and then actually provides a service, obviously, to your desired or designated target audience or beneficiaries. So let's say, for example, and this is really just a very basic example for explanation. If your idea was to set up some sort of an innovative homework center, then your proof of concept would be the actual running of, let's say, the first round of that homework center with actual students who actually will be provided with the space and the supervision and whatnot that your homework center is intended to provide. So whether it's a physical product or a service, that's that's how we would understand, broadly speaking, a proof of concept. On the website, however, when you get to the crafting application section, there is actually some more detail on proof of concept, including a definition. We also have in various parts of the website some videos, some explanatory videos, not specifically about proof of concept, but other things that can help you think through your idea. And I'm just joined by one of the persons we were waiting for, Leandra Mohammed, one of our champions. Just as he gets ready, I'm seeing a couple more questions coming in, so let me just try to address them. Rachel Ann asked, my business idea needs experts to be hired once the business is started. Will the grant cover this expense? The experts are not part of our team. So that's a very good question, Rachel Ann. Yeah, if the experts you are looking to hire are not part of your team, so basically you're just looking to pay for their services into your project, that is absolutely acceptable, and the grant can cover that expense. So yes, that is acceptable. Another question coming in from John Bransall. What is the latest thinking on the project sponsor initiator paying themselves for their time or inputs? Well, John, that's also a good question, and the latest thinking is that type of thing still isn't allowable under the system. So you, as the person who has applied and has been awarded a grant, you cannot pay yourself from the grant. So basically, the work that you're putting in, the sweat equity that you're putting in, would be pro bono. But going back to like the previous question, other people who aren't part of your team, so other service providers that you rely on, you can pay them out of the grant. And Leandro, maybe you want to jump in at this point, particularly on that question of paying other people. But actually, I'm seeing some more questions jumping in pretty quickly, so let's try to address them. Maybe we'll just come right back to that one in a bit. Will being successful, so Simon asked, will being successful in getting a grant from the i2i inhibit getting a patent on the innovation if it is patentable, since the winners and the projects are disclosed publicly? Simon, that is an excellent question, and that of course gets to the heart of the topic here, idea protection. So I just want to welcome Leandro, and given that you and your project team, your family, have been in a similar situation, can you take a shot at addressing that question?
Well, this question is a very good question. It's something I've actually never thought about. We just so happened to take the idea after we went through the i2i program, and after suggestion by the people from the i2i, went ahead with the assistance of the IP office.
Right.
And we went ahead and got the ball rolling with respect to getting the patent. But I don't think with the i2i being directly involved and let it be a public thing, I don't think there's any way of getting a patent. There are ways to go about doing it. We have absolutely no idea what it entails, but through help from the IP office, they pointed us in the right direction.
Okay. So I know, for example, on the website, on that same page that I was talking about idea protection and so on, we do have a statement that we got actually cleared from the IP office about the timings and so on, and the impact of public disclosure. One thing to be clear though, just submitting your idea to the competition does not actually constitute full public disclosure. So one of the points that the IP office points out is that in Trinidad and Tobago, you have 1 year from full public disclosure of your idea within which to file for intellectual property protection from the IP office. So I think the key part is that what they refer to as full public disclosure. So that is to say, submitting your idea to the program where those ideas are then held confidentially and are not disclosed to anyone who isn't directly involved. So the administrators, the evaluation panel are the only ones who see in any detail what your idea constitutes. So that doesn't, from our understanding, make up full public disclosure. But in any case, even if it did, you would still have 1 year from that point to go ahead and apply for patenting. Sure. Right? Yep, we just, it's a little bit better set up here. Great. So I'm seeing another question from David. Do you need 3 quotes from the experts mentioned by Rachel? Okay, another great question, David, and David as well. I said it is the same David, Ned, another one of our i2i champions. Generally, yes, you do need 3 quotes for professional services or required. It depends, however, on how rare or how unique those services are. I mean, Leandro, perhaps you could share some of your experience.
Yeah, well, with our experience being in the field of manufacturing, we find that it's highly recommended to use that 3 quotes. In the past, we have had people who have put all their confidence in one person who didn't deliver, and they would be in a lot of problems. It's also standard for most people to get 3 quotes before they come down business, and I think it's a safe way of going about getting things done.
Yeah. So I think I just want to add. I would want to just add to that to say the purpose of requiring the 3 quotes isn't just to introduce more bureaucratic red tape. It really is for your benefit as well as an awardee to ensure that you're really getting value for money. So as Leandro pointed out, going for the first option that is provided for you, whether it's the first provider or the first price, isn't necessarily going to get you the best result.
Yeah.
And Leandro and others certainly have a lot of experience of persons maybe promising certain things and quoting on certain things, but then not being able to deliver to provide what was promised. So by you really doing the due diligence to find out alternative providers and alternative equipment providers and so on, you really get a better sense as to what is available versus what isn't available. And you know, you could shop around, you could then negotiate better prices and so on. Okay, so I'm seeing a question here from Cynthia, and she's saying she's semi-disabled and I'd like to import certain gadgets that don't seem to be available here. How do I give proof of concept for this? Well, Cynthia, if actually, I think I do recall seeing your name from a previous webinar. Now, just for your benefit and for everyone else, just to remember, the i2i program is really intended to support innovation, and by innovation, and we define it on the website, we're talking about either new products and services or new processes, or significantly improved products or services, or a new way of applying locally available raw materials. So, taking that definition as a start, importing gadgets that aren't available here, literally just importing, would not be considered innovation for the purpose of what we're talking about. I mean, it generally may not be considered innovation at all if you're just literally going to be importing products to retail here. So that, from that point, wouldn't be considered for this program, and hence there wouldn't be a proof of concept to discuss there. We will certainly be willing, you know, in a different forum perhaps, to try to point you, Cynthia, in the direction of other sources of funding to help pursue that, but the i2i program won't be appropriate for that particular purpose. So Mira is back with a question. Just to clarify, for the proof of concept of a service, what is required is a detailed breakdown of how the business will be run or conducted. Perhaps not as extensive as that, because then you're talking about an ongoing, but by using the, you know, the terms there, run and conducted, you're talking about the ongoing operations of the business, or at least it will appear that way. Not necessarily. So going back to the definition I just gave of either a brand new service or product, or a significantly improved service or product, then your proof of concept again would really just be about, you know, you describing what the run of that in the first instance would look like. So Leandro, I think all of your innovations were actual products, or mechanical innovations. So none of them are services. No. But by any chance, do you have any input on that in terms of a service? What would be the proof of concept? I'm thinking that, okay, so Cynthia says she understands. No problem, Cynthia. So back to Mira's question briefly. Yes, you would require, the more detail you can provide, certainly at each stage of the application, the better for you. But for the proof of concept of the service, it will be a detailed breakdown of how that service will be run, let's say the first time around, the first time out. But I maybe have been reading too much into the way that you frame that, will be run or conducted. But yeah, so you're not expected, for example, to give long-run projections or anything like that about how the business will be run on an ongoing basis, but simply, this is the idea, this is how the service will run, and this will constitute that it is actually feasible in the real world. So that then would be, in broad terms, the proof of concept. And David is responding saying, yes, he is. Yes, I am just asking questions that we have to deal with that they should ask. Okay, great. Thank you, David. And thank you for contributing as well to the webinar. So, yeah, David there was just, his previous question about if the 3 quotes was required was really just something that he and his wife would have faced in this, and he just putting that out there for others who may be looking on right now to help you anticipate what comes next. Okay, so Mira says she got it, makes sense, thank you, you're welcome. John saying the answers to the i2i question shows the proof of concept also applies to the illumination challenge. Yes, they do. Excuse me for 1 second, I've got the phone ringing, I want to turn it off. Okay, so yes, the answers about proof of concept do apply to the illumination challenge. And for those who may be wondering what that is, the illumination challenge is a new social innovation program also launched and run and managed by the CCI, that's the Council for Competitiveness and Innovation. You can find out a whole lot more about it at our website. So that's www.luminationchallenge.org. It's Lumination, so L-U-M, so it's not illumination. It sounds like illumination, but it's just Lumination Challenge. And if you go to that website, you'll get a much better understanding as to why we chose that name and why illumination and who are the luminaries that we're expecting to support through the program. But basically, the concept is very similar to i2i. That is to say, grants are provided for people who have innovative ideas, but in the case of Lumination, it's for people who want to achieve some sort of a social innovation to do social good. So there isn't necessarily a commercial aspect in there. So I'm skipping right along because some questions are bubbling up. Declan asked, if within the service you are providing, you have to rent a facility to perform that service, will the grant cover the rental of the place? Unfortunately, no, it won't, Declan. Rental of property, purchase of property is not allowed, is not covered under the grant. Okay. Moving on, Damien asked, suppose the proposal was entered into the application and passed the first round of judging. If there is a first round of judging, can the design or the prototype be changed? No, it can't, unfortunately, Damien. So in fact, with i2i, yes, there are 2 rounds of judging. There's a pre-screening panel and an evaluation panel. Again, more details of that are available on the website. Go to i2itt.com, go to the challenge section, and then you scroll down to evaluation. But no, once you have submitted your application, and just as a reminder, the deadline for submission is next Friday, so Friday the 6th of March at 6 p.m. Once your applications go in and they're accepted into the system, you cannot make any further amendments to the design of any, or the prototype or anything to your application. One thing you should bear in mind, though, and Leandra, I'll turn to you to talk about this in a second. You may have a particular design going into your application at the start, right? Right. And then when let's say you are awarded, the evaluation panel determines that your idea is worthy of award. Once you get started and you actually get into the research and to working on it, you may need to change that design somewhat. Just to improve what you think. To improve things, and that is certainly allowed, and that is part of the course with this type of work. But that is to do with the fact that after you've been awarded, you actually start working. But if you're talking about the application phase, then no. Once you submit your application, you can't change anything. Rachel asked, if I register a patent with local IPO, will my idea be protected outside of TNT as well? That's a great question, Rachel. Straight on the topic of this. Leandro, you want to start about this? I know you guys.
No, it won't. For the places that you feel your design should be protected, you have to do a separate filing. If you feel that your design would work well in places like Europe, in the US, in Japan, they all have separate filing applications to be done. So it will be protected outside of Trinidad and Tobago just like that. They will all have to go through separate filings. Okay? You will just pause for 1 minute and then Mr. Carroll returns.
Okay, sorry about that, folks. Okay. So where were we? And seeing Rachel's question.
Yeah, well, if our idea would be protecting ourselves.
Yeah. So from my understanding, no, it will not. You will need to protect your idea in each jurisdiction that you would want it to be protected. So basically, if you're talking about patents, for example, you need to register it here in Trinidad at the IPO to get protection in Trinidad and Tobago. But similar, if you wanted protection in the United States, you would have to apply there under their rules. If you want protection in the UK, and in each country that you want protection, you would then have to pursue protection independently.
And also all those patents will have to be renewed.
Yes.
There's a time frame,
Yes.
so it's not a one-time thing at all.
Yeah. I know that the IP office can offer assistance in terms of helping you get those applications in, but it still will be your responsibility to get them done, and it is really a business decision. So you would seek protection in the areas in which you are intending to basically to try to run your business. So. Okay, so Damien, thank you. You're welcome, Damien. Simon, and this is a question for you, Leandro. How detailed should the work plan be, and how should it be structured? What are some guidelines for creating a sound work plan? I think that's an excellent question, Simon, and particularly given that Leandro, as I mentioned, he and his team, who comprises his dad and his brother, you all have been awarded 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
Right. So you definitely should have a grip on a sound work plan.
Well, doing global junior work plan has a lot to do with the advice that we get from the guys at i2i and the guys at i2i. There's a certain way that they want the work plan to be done. It's not as easy as it sounds, and it could be done in a fair amount of time once you follow the way that they give you. But i2i provides a pretty detailed way in which they want the work plan to be done, and they also still by us and make corrections to things that should be changed.
Okay. Actually, I'm wondering though if Simon's question is more about the work plan at the stage of application, so before query gets involved. So just that when you are, so you're just a regular person looking to apply to the program. So think back to when you, well, even last year when you would have been awarded, you would have applied into it. So this is you as you, not you as an awardee.
Oh,
so what is
before?
It? Yeah, before in applying.
Well, I think it should be as detailed as possible.
Okay.
It should be as detailed as possible.
What does that mean?
In terms of what you are bringing to the table, it should be structured in a way that the average person should understand exactly what you're talking about.
Okay.
In my field of being engineering, I'm probably one of the few people that actually submit things to do engineering.
Right.
And that way we try to simplify it a lot. But there's also input from a lot of the other guys from the team.
Right.
So we all split it up into parts, and we delegate certain sections to like different people. So my brother would do feet, and my dad, being the leader, he would have an overview of everything.
Right.
So in my eyes, it should be very detailed, and it should be structured in a way where there is individual responsibility.
Okay. So if I could generalize a bit there for Simon's benefit and others who are looking on, details, so the more detail you put in, the better. Definitely lay out the work in terms of different phases, different components, and you should definitely rely on the expertise of specialists for different segments of the work. So as you pointed out, there are particular areas in which you have expertise, others in which your brother has expertise, others in which your dad has expertise, and each of you would then be responsible for those different elements. So then in your work plan, you're not just laying out what needs to be done, but who would have to do it, and also when.
Yes.
Yeah, so it all has to be structured according to a time frame of 1 year.
Order,
and in order. Yeah, so hopefully that answers Simon's question. David was commenting that what they had to do was to change. They had to scale back on the size of the project to fit the funds granted. Yep, that is a reality of the fact that you are provided limited funds, not just in this program, but in any context. If you were to approach an investor, for example, you may want X and you provided with X minus 10, so you then have to readjust with what you actually have. Fareed is asking, would I be at a disadvantage if I don't have a prototype? If I need a grant funding to move forward my idea, but I have a very detailed plan of how the idea can be materialized, will this be accepted on the prototype? Absolutely, Fareed. So just to be clear, and I'm glad you asked that question, because I'm sure many others may be considering it. You do not have to have a prototype before you apply to i2i. I mean, in a sense, the point of i2i is to provide you with the funding and the support through career, as Leandro mentioned, to create your prototype. Yeah, so you will have the idea and the plan about it, and you know, so what we're talking about there in terms of being detailed is that both in terms of your description of the idea, your description of the problem that it addresses, or the unmet need that it addresses, your description of how the work plan should be set out, as well as your visual representation of it in terms of tables and charts, as well as any diagrams and drawings you may have. All those things will be definitely helpful to you to allow the evaluation panel to have enough material to assess what exactly you're talking about, and also what exactly you're talking about to see if it was innovative and novel, and also if you are providing them with enough evidence to suggest that you can actually execute it, either you yourself or your project team, or with the assistance of other service providers. So you don't have to have a prototype to apply, but the more details you can put in your plan within your application, the better for you. Okay, so David is saying, Simon, try to give an idea of how the funds will be spent in a broad sense. If you identify costs for things beforehand, the year. If you identify costs for things beforehand, the year runs a lot easier. So thank you for that advice, David. That is excellent advice. Yeah. So in addition, so actually just to back up a bit, in addition to what we just talked about the work plan, it's the elements of the work that need to be done, the different responsibilities, the different team members, the different service providers who would be responsible for each part, the timing of that, and the sequencing, what needs to go first, what needs to go second, and so on, and also the cost associated with each phase. Those are the key elements of a work plan. Darren is asking, if you need lawyers in the implementation and transformation of the idea, will the fund provided by your organization cover that cost? Actually, it does to an extent. So lawyers would be considered, for example, some of the specialist service providers that are required. But again, we need to caution that we're talking about any legal fees you may face to bring you to the point of proof of concept. That is the key part, and that need to keep reiterating. So it isn't about, for example, lawyers or legal services to expand your business or to take your business into, for example, another jurisdiction, or it would not also even cover the full extent of the intellectual property or patenting fees that you may face. Just as we were talking about earlier, if let's say you wanted intellectual property protection in a number of different jurisdictions outside of Trinidad and Tobago, the grant would not be able to be applied to doing that. So the short answer is yes, if you need lawyers, some amount of the grant can be used to cover that, because that would be a specialized service, but it will have to be looked at in detail in the context of the total implementation of your up to the point of your proof of concept. Okay, folks, so lots of questions coming in. Thank you for that. And thank you as well for everyone who is in the audience, especially David and so on, assisting with fielding some of the questions. You're welcome, Darren. Okay, so as we're waiting for another question to come in, I don't know if, Leandro, if you would be comfortable talking about where you guys are at with your current project. Well, or if not, maybe not the current project, since you're still working in. What about the two previous ones, the 2012 and 2013 projects that you worked on?
Well, for the 2012 project right now, we're at the point where we're very close to market. Okay. We're actually in the middle of marketing right now. Okay. We have had meetings with a couple of investors. Okay. Currently I have presentations to do on Friday. Right. For potential investors for 2012 design. Right. And you know, they also spark interest in the 2015 design. Things seem to look good. Okay. After all the work that everybody has put in, the team and the help from i2i, the help from the IP office, from Curry, everyone. Right. So it's good to see something actually materialize, and you can
Okay.
almost feel that, that all the work and all the effort since it's just been an idea for many years ago.
Yeah.
You know, it feels amazing that it's right in front of you.
Yeah.
You could almost taste it.
That's excellent. And actually, it's just for the benefit of the audience looking and listening on. So that 2012 project you're referring to, so you all were awarded in September of 2012, correct? Roughly September, October, and then you would have completed a proof of concept in roughly by October of 2013.
Yes.
Right. So we're talking about the time between completing a proof of concept in October 2013. I imagine going through some revisions and improvements, right, since then. So after that part of your i2i project was officially ended, you would have continued to work on it and continue to revise and improve and, you know, look at what the market was looking for and so on.
Just make minor adjustments.
Right. And that would have been in October 2013, and now here we are in February 2015, and you're now on the point of being able to. So that is to say, for anyone else looking on, even some of our i2i awardees who are currently in the system, it does take a while to get to the point of being market ready.
And I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah.
Because the best thing is getting that help from the very beginning.
Right.
Being able to get the assistance that we needed, that you wouldn't be able to get before, you know.
Right.
It actually helped us believe that we could make our ideas come true.
Yeah.
And
great.
Right now in 2015, we're just doing a good job making all this hard work pay off.
Okay.
So we really want to make this pay off so we can actually have something tangible to show people from the i2i past and future that this is not a game.
Yeah.
And it's something very, very, very serious.
Excellent. Okay, so we have a question from Rachel. So you, Leandro, asking what is the best advice you can give to other inventors? You've given some great advice so far, so I think she's asking what's the best advice you can give.
Well, there's so much advice. Sometimes I need advice myself. So I speak to people who have businesses and you know, went on that road where you think things won't work out.
Right.
You know, we have had some rough times where honestly you think it won't work out, and that's where you need to sit back and think about all the effort that you have put into it, the team and the people that got it all started. The people in i2i, they really don't have to do it. But somebody came up with the amazing idea of getting, you know, people involved and getting their ideas off the ground. And the best advice I could give as an inventor and to people who have ideas and inventing is honestly never give up.
Okay.
It may sound cliche, but honestly never give up, because people from our team, we have been at times where you just want to pack up everything and just give up. But it's easy to give up.
Right.
Right? And I mean, always remember that you have a lot of people around to help.
Yeah.
The guys in i2i, the guys in i2i, the guys in the IP office. I think anything you need advice on, everybody here is willing to help. So there's no shortage of knowledge and assistance. It's just a matter of you making the proper decision and asking the right people.
Okay. Actually, on that point, Leandro, so particularly for those who are still, if you will, on the outside in the sense that they may be going through the application process right now. In your team's experience, let's say the first time around, was the application you submitted, was that your first attempt at it, or were there others? Okay, so you don't know.
That application was our first attempt. I could say to everybody out there, don't do it half-heartedly.
Right.
Put all the effort you could possibly put, run it by your team, get the views of different people on the outside, and give their advice, listen to them, and really, really try to be as detailed as possible. You really don't want to leave out things while you're in the application process at all. You don't want people to sit there and wonder, because remember, these people who are running through the application may not know, may not have the experience in the field that you are applying in. So you really want to, it's almost like you're spoon feeding them.
Right.
You want to give them every single little detail. Things that you may take for granted, you should put on the application and make it in a way that is easiest for them to understand.
Yeah. I think that's an excellent point as far as getting other people who, both in your team and maybe outside of your team, who may not be as familiar with the idea as you are. I think you raised an excellent point there. Sometimes you get so close to something that you overlook things that aren't there. So someone else who isn't close to it, they will look at it and they will ask questions that you wouldn't have considered. So that will help you to then flesh out and put more detail
Things in our application should almost be like a lesson then.
Right.
Right?
Okay, so Mira is asking, is there any way we can get into contact with the past champions to possibly get clarification on any questions that we may have concerning the application? Well, Mira, you're in luck because as of today, well, I shouldn't say that. What is taking place right now, so we have Leandro as a past champion, we have David Ned, who is in the chat there as a past champion, but I suppose more generally, yes, so what we have been having is a series of champions tour. Well, it's a champion tour, but we've been having different stuff. So the first one was literally at the launch event in January. We've had one in i2i, in the social sciences undercroft. We're going to have one as well this Friday in Tobago, right? So for any of our listeners and people in the audience from Tobago, we are going to be in Tobago at the MIC on Milford Road. I think it's from around noon or just after lunch, sometime around there for a few hours. So those are all opportunities to get directly into contact with the past champions. Certainly another approach is that if you go to the i2i website, you won't see contact details for the persons of one, but you will see their name and the project title. So that can give you some indication, at least from the project titles, if what they are doing is similar to what you're doing. And that way, if you do so, then you can get in touch with us, and we can make that connection, behind the scenes. So we just have to check. Let's say someone wanted to do something in mechanical engineering, and they looked up what Leandro and the Mohammeds have done, and they said, you know what, we want to get in touch. You just get in touch with us at the i2i team, and we could then make that connection to them. But certainly, in the interim, the Champions Tour event, so as I said, this Friday in Tobago at the MIC after lunch on Milford Road. Come then, you have an opportunity to have some face-to-face time with some of the champions. Oh, I just remember, we were also in South, down in the Royal Hotel last weekend, so last Saturday. So Kevin has another question. If two people present the same idea and one of the ideas wins, what happens to the next person? Well, Kevin, it's a good question. I see where you're coming from, but it's just want to clarify. It's also, so let's break down what you mean by the same idea. Because if you're talking about the exact same text in all the fields of the application, then obviously it's not the same idea. That's someone copied the other, or both of them copied from the same source. If you're talking about two people having the same broad idea, but one of them, the way that they explain how they would execute it or implement it was different and in effect more effective or better explained than the other person, that would then lead to one of them being selected for award versus the other one. So you just want to make sure that we're distinguishing two different things here. If you're talking about the same idea specifically, like it is exactly the same thing with exactly the same set of steps and exactly the same requirements, then you're most likely looking at some sort of a copying or plagiarism taking place. And obviously, in those kind of cases, we would not be awarding either one of the two people. In fact, we may be referring them to the fraud squad or something like that. But if you are talking about, just two people having the same general idea or operating in the same field, it is then very unlikely that that they would both have the exact same way of implementing that idea. So that would be my response to that. Okay, so just letting you folks know, we have 10 more minutes. And Mira, you're welcome. Mira just saying thanks one more time. So folks, we have 10 more minutes. Thank you for keeping the questions rolling in. Yeah. Okay. So thanks to all of you for logging in and for staying logged in today. Once again, we do apologize for the late start, but even though we had a bit of a late start, we certainly kept it very active in between time. So thank you for that. Thank you to Leandro as well for joining us. And it's unfortunate our colleague from the Intellectual Property Office wasn't able to join. Actually, Mr. Ashing was the first one, Richard Ashing, he was the first, he's our usual go-to via the IPO. He's out of the country. Oh. So one of his colleagues was asked to fill in, but unfortunately, somewhere along the line he wasn't able to make it. Okay. Yeah, he was supposed to be on the way. But
full on knowledge.
Richard Aching, yeah. So definitely, so again, I just want to go back for a second to on the i2i website when we on that page about idea protection and intellectual property. Down at the end there we have the address and the email address and the website of the IPO, the Intellectual Property Office. You can certainly, well, not that you can, you should follow through with them directly for any advice that you may want or need about protecting your ideas specifically. So we're talking about through patents or through copyright, design marks, trademarks. I think another definition is geographical designations. So that's things like, you know, if your sparkling wine wasn't made in the Champagne region of France, it's called Champagne, things of that nature. Yeah, so any clarification you want on anything of that sort, definitely go to the IP office. They're at Capital Plaza on Frederick Street, but I mean, you could check out their phone numbers as well, give them a call, and we put a link to their website on our website, so i2i.com. Damien St. Thanks, you're most welcome, Damien, and thank you to all of you who asked, who have been here. And Rachel, thank you for that question, Rachel. So I've talked about our website as a way to get in contact with i2i.com. And for those who just want to speak to a human being, we have a hotline as well, 800-2444. So if you've had it up to here with reading text on our website and you just want to talk to somebody, 800-2444. It's manned from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday to Friday. So it's closed right now, but it will be up again from 8 a.m. tomorrow. And yeah, definitely we expect, and we have been seeing the calls ramping up, both in number and in intensity. So people are really fascinated as they realize that the deadline is coming up. So yeah, 800-2444. And definitely, I see you all in Tobago. Those of you who either live in Tobago or if you have some time and you're feeling to hop on a plane and come over to Tobago on Friday, by all means, feel free. We will be there for the Champions Tour at the MIC after lunch. And I think that's it for today. Mira, okay, Mira's chance to be one last question. This will actually be the final question. Thank you, Mira. Must your project team become partners, shareholders in the business? No. So just to be clear, your project team, for the purpose of the i2i application, is literally just that, to help you get your project executed to the point of proof of concept. Beyond that, as you actually launch a business, it's totally up to you who then becomes a partner or shareholder. That is a totally separate decision, and there's no requirement that people who start off any project team would then continue on into your business. So great. And yes, make sure to check out our Facebook site. And so we have the website i2i.com. We're on Facebook and Twitter as well. Again, if you go to the website, you will see the link to that. We're also on YouTube. You'll also get to see some of the photos from our previous Champions Tour stuff. Check that out. And yeah, we thank you all for joining us, and we will be signing off right about now. So bye, ladies and gents, and take care. Make sure to apply. Deadline next week Friday, 6 p.m., not 6:01, not 7, not midnight, 6 p.m., Friday, 6th of March. Okay, next week Friday, all right, 6th of March. Bye, folks.